Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day so far and welcome to today's video, which is going to be a get ready with me trying new makeup and sharing another unhinged story of something that has happened to me recently during my 2 years of hell trying to move house. I have the Nikki and BK Beauty collab brush set to try out. I've got the Tatcha Silk powder, which I've never tried before. I have the MAC Locked Kiss transfer proof bullet matte lipsticks. I've got the Leopard Hourglass holiday palette. I have a new mascara from Estee Lauder and I have this Dragon Eye palette from WhatsUp Beauty. A whole load of new products to try. So if you want to hear a bizarre, horrifying story while I do my makeup and try some of these new products, then keep watching. Okay, so I do have the Nikki and BK Beauty collab brush set today, and I'm going to try and do my entire face and eyes and everything in between my face and my eyes. Just using this brush set, I want to see just how comprehensive it is. I watched Nikki's video about this collection and she really wanted this to be like a very comprehensive set, like the only brushes you will need for a beginner, for a professional who wants to just have like not 300 brushes, be able to do a full face of makeup and do it really, really well, but with ease. And I love that. I love that there's such multitasking brushes, such clever little brushes as well, many of them. And so I'm going to put them to the test today and see if we can get a full face just with this brush set. So I'm just going to do my primer. First of all, standard, nothing new to see here. Tom Ford Soft Matte Primer. Gonna start, I always like to start with primer because then I can do my eyes while that settles into the skin and give it as long as possible before I go in with my foundation. I don't need to do anything to my brows because they're pretty freshly laminated and tinted, so I have nothing on my brows, which is the joy of my life. But I have primed my eyes with just concealer and a little bit of powder, and I'm going to be using this bad boy from WhatsUp Beauty. This is the Dragon Eye palette. I keep calling it the Dragon palette, Dragon Eye palette, and clearly this is terrifying for someone as boring and basic as me when it comes to makeup preference, but I want to test myself to see whether I can get a wearable look out of this palette for me when I'm so boring and neutral loving. You know, I want to see if I can enjoy this palette and get some use out of it, even though it is stunning but terrifying for someone as boring as me. So I'm going to start off with the N13 and I'm going to use Creature, which is the only shade potentially not terrifying in this whole palette for someone that's boring and not very creative with makeup. So I am going to be telling you a little unhinged story today from my house buying nightmare journey over the last couple of years. If you're new here or you just haven't heard about this, we decided we wanted to move several years ago now, and we put our house on the market about like 2 years ago, like in the spring. The perfect house selling time, and it was a crazy time in the market. I don't know why, I can't remember. I think, was there like a stamp duty holiday, something like that was going on, and like the housing market was insane. Like we had dozens of viewings, we sold it in, you know, like a couple of weeks, multiple times. There was bidding wars going on, and we experienced the same thing trying to buy. You know, we weren't even allowed to, we were calling up, right? Houses were going on the market that day. We were sitting there waiting for them, and they were going on that day, and we were calling up as soon as we saw it to view it, to hear, oh, it's been sold. How though? How is this happening? We were like having to ask permission to put offers in. People didn't even want us to view the house because we weren't like cash buyers, first time buyers, because we had something to sell. So there was like a bit of a chain, even though our buyer was a cash buyer with no chain. So the literal chain was like us and our buyer. Like people were just turning down our offers left, right and center. We offered on like 5 or 6 houses, and like were turned down all of our offers way over asking price because that was what was happening. at the time, and yeah, we just couldn't buy anything for love or money because we had one person in a chain and lots of cash buyers were on the market, and that's who we were competing with. Cash buyers, no chain, no onward chain, and we were losing out to them time and time again. And we finally managed to find somewhere, put in our offer, had our offer accepted. We got through to exchange, which is the point at which you can't go back and you're literally then going to move. So we were a couple of weeks out from moving and our buyer just pulled out like that and left us miserable and our lives in tatters. I mean, that's slightly dramatic, but it was not a good time, you know? And by this time, the market had completely changed and gone completely flat. The interest rates here had been put up wildly in the meantime, so the market had completely gone. So we tried to sell it while we were still trying to save our purchase, but then the house we were trying to purchase got resold and we gave up and took it off the market. I'm now going to go into the smoke shade with that same brush. So we then went back on the market this spring, and again, you know, we sold it fairly quickly. Definitely not as many viewings. The market was much slower this time, which happily for us meant we were able to purchase much smoother. Like, you know, we were able to view. We even were able to do second viewings, which was not a thing last time because there just wasn't time. You didn't have the time to do a second viewing or consider your options. You were like, buy it right now or lose it forever. So that was quite good. You know, we were able to like view lots of houses. We put in an offer that was under asking price and it was accepted. And we started going through the sale process again, and almost at the exact same time, about to exchange, our buyer randomly just pulled out with just really no cares in the world yet again. Again, we were literally about to move, schools all sorted, etc., etc. And again, we were literally about to move when this happened. So again, crushing, soul destroying, loving life. Let me tell you, if I ever see these people in public, in real life, they're lucky I don't know what they look like because I do know their names. I don't even know what to choose. Everything in here is delightful. I think I'm going to use this Magic shade. It's got a gorgeous little shift in there. And I'm switching over to the N12, which is kind of like a flat brush situation. Oh, that is pretty. So now we decided we're not going to come off the market this time. We're just going to wait it out. We're going to wait. We've been doing a few viewings because the market now has completely collapsed because the interest rates have gone so crazy high that no one wants to buy a house apart from us. So we are doing a few viewings, not really with like a huge amount of intensity, but because the location that we're looking to move to is so far from where we live now, we are just trying to do viewings here and there where we can, because it takes like a whole day for us to view a couple of houses. And obviously we have children. We don't like to bring them with us because we don't want to sort of continue messing them around. Obviously they've been messed around a fair bit at this point. And so we want to keep them out of the process as much as possible. I'm just going to use my finger. Yeah. Because I think that brush is not necessarily designed with like packing pigment onto the lid. So I just want to get the most out of this shadow because it's delightful. Wow. That is so pretty. I feel like these sort of indie brands, these palettes are just full of like shadows that you could just do a one and done look with and it'd be spectacular. And it will look like you've put a lot more effort into it than you truly have because the shadow is like doing a lot of the wow factor for you. I feel like I might want to do a bit of spikes with that first sort of blending brush here, just between the mattes and that shimmer. Feeling brave. This is going much better than I thought. This is so pretty. So yeah, we kind of had a bit of a chat with our children because I like full transparency with my children. I like to tell them anything that they ask. You know, I'll give them a very honest answer. I never lie to them. I'm always honest about anything that they ask me. And I don't want to alarm them or freak them out or give them stress when it comes to the house moving process. So I asked them, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to keep telling you what's going on with the house, or do you just literally want to know when we are fully 100% definitely moving and then you'll only have a couple of weeks notice? And they both chose that option. So fair play to them. I might put a bit of this Fly shade using that same N12, just in this inner corner. Pretty. Maybe I'll use this N11 and see. I'm thinking because it's like an angular brush, it's going to be more so for liner, but I just want to see how it does. Yeah, I think that would be better. That's going to be better for like a packing lid shade for sure. Ooh, that's pretty. So we don't want to drag them all over the place. So that means that we have to get to where we're viewing and back in like the school hours. So we've got 6 hours to get like where we're going, view any houses and back, accounting for lots of traffic, which is not enough time. So we don't want to do that very often. Okay, so this is the Estee Lauder Turbo Lash Mascara. I was sent this in PR and what a weapon. That looks interesting, doesn't it? Just me? Okay. Why do I smell everything? It's mascara. It smells like mascara, Charlotte, for goodness sake. Okay, Estee Lauder. Do you know, this has just been sat on my desk because I've had so many new mascaras to try recently and I was fully convinced this one was going to be useless. And that's rude of me and presumptuous. And you know what assuming does? It makes, you know what it makes out of you and I. And this is far nicer than I expected. Okay, Estee Lauder, you can do a mascara. I didn't know that. So yeah, we're slowly sort of getting viewings in here and there. We have received an offer on our house, but the person has an offer on their house, but by someone who's not proceedable. It's a long story. So we are in effect still on the market, but we do have some interested parties. It's just taking a bit longer because the market is completely dead. So we're doing like the odd viewing so that once we are fully secure with our offer, you know, we can put an offer in. We don't have to then go and do a load of viewings. We can be quick, like little whippets with the offer process. So we've been doing viewings here and there. And last week we went and we had a full day. We were trying to get 4 viewings in that little bit of time while the kids are at school. So we had, you know, a packed schedule, and these houses are in the middle of nowhere. You know, they are few and far between. They are very spread out and we were in a hurry. We get to this first house and let me set the scene. You know, we aren't looking for new builds. We are looking very much for country cottages, lots of character. That's our vibe. So a lot of the houses we look at are run down. They've been owned by the same families for like a century. And have you noticed that estate agents are always very keen on letting you know that in the brochure? Whereas to me, that's like, oh goodness, they're going to have the very flowery curtains and carpets. That's what it says to me. All the carpets are going to be blue for some reason. Interesting choices. Haus Labs foundation, and I'm beside myself with excitement to try out this ridiculously clever little brush. So this is the N17. One side is for foundation and the other side is for powder. Have you ever heard of such a clever little idea? I'm dying to try it. So without being like morbid, although I will warn you, this story that I'm about to tell you is gruesome and horrifying. So buckle up. I know I wasn't expecting it either when viewing houses, but I had to hear it, so now so do you. It's very tempting. My issue with this brush is it's very tempting for me to like do this and go onto the powder side. I'm having to remind myself, don't do that. Like, stay on this side. I mean, that's done a great job, hasn't it? Stop doing that. I mean, that's done a great job. Look at that coverage. Red, rosacea-y mess. Delightful. That was very quick. When I first started applying this, I thought this isn't going well, just because it feels very different. But then suddenly it was done and looked delightful. So that was intriguing. So yes, how do we put this? A lot of the houses we're seeing are, I don't know if this is the term everywhere, but in the UK, the term is probate houses. So that is where the house is being sold as part of someone's estate. So typically someone has passed away of old age who's probably lived there their entire life, and the house is being sold like in their will. Okay, that's the layman's description. Just because like the size of house, the locations we're looking in, it just seems like that is the case for a lot of these houses. And then often what that means is, like I said, they haven't been decorated or redecorated since the 60s, and they need a lot of work. The way it is, that's just a lot of the houses in the locations we're looking at, that's the typical thing. And you can tell them, you know, they always are looking like a bit outdated, shall we say. A lot of them have green baths. The blue carpets that we mentioned, lots of floral fabrics, and usually like no furniture and a lot of spiders because no one's lived there for a certain amount of time, and they always feel a little spooky, you know. I will say that several times we've been looking at these houses that are involved in like a probate situation, and the estate agent has made it abundantly clear the person did not die here. They did not die here. I feel like they realise that's really important to be clear about, because I guess that shouldn't put you off buying a house, because realistically, is it going to be haunted? I don't know. I don't really know what to believe when it comes to ghosts. I haven't got a full belief system. I have never seen one, I don't think. And I used to live right next door. When I grew up, I lived next door to a graveyard. So you'd think I would have seen one, but I'm not ruling it out. And if we're being realistic, if we're not buying a new build, probably at some point somebody has passed away, like in every house, you know? It's just, we don't want to pull at that thread. We don't, if no one tells us, we don't want to know. You know, whereas if someone tells you, immediately I start thinking, oh, I'm going to see a grey lady in the middle of the night. And I'd rather not. Even if it's like Casper the Friendly Ghost, I'd rather they stay away from me. So this house we're going round, we're looking around it. It's got definitely the vibe that it's been empty for a while. Whoever lived here is no longer with us. No furniture, lots of spiders. There was a spider's body like the size of my fist in one of the like sinks, and I was like, I mean, you could have at least taken that out, because I nearly like had a panic attack when I saw it. It was ginormous. But you know, no one's living here to remove the spider bodies, so I understand. But then strangely, the kitchen was like brand new and quite modern, like really nice Belfast sink, really beautiful cabinets. And I was like, this is strange. Oh wait, I just realized I should have used this for my concealer. That's sad, an opportunity missed because I was too busy talking. What's new? I'm going to use the N14 with my Pat McGrath setting powder. So yeah, it was a very noticeable oddity to me, because we'd been walking around, you know, pricing things up, and we're like, okay, so it needs all new windows, it needs all new carpets, we're going to need to redo the storage, it needs new bathrooms. We're like walking around, you know, doing all the calculations in our head, doing, you know, seeing, do we want to do all this work? Is it too much? Is it enough? Is it worth the work? You know, we're walking around having these usual conversations. We get to the kitchen and we're like, this is odd, because it's just so out of sync with everything else. Literally, everything is brand new. Everything is very shiny and modern and really nice. Like, I wouldn't have even needed to change it. And how often can you say that about a house's kitchen? I mean, I've seen like glorious brand new shiny kitchens that I hate, and I'm thinking in my head, I'm gonna have to rip that out even though it's brand new, because it's just not my taste. You know, kitchens are so specific, your taste in them, and as much as I can appreciate lots of other people's, it wouldn't necessarily be like my choice and my preference. Whereas this was like fantastic. I absolutely love the kitchen. It, you know, doesn't need doing. And so I, you know, said, oh wow, this is great. I wasn't expecting, you know, the kitchen to be so modern and beautiful. And the estate agent uttered these mortal words. He said, well, I'm not sure if you're going to want to know this. Obviously red flags, and I obviously hear it now, and if I had known what he was about to tell me, I would have said, I'll stop you there, I don't want to know, don't tell me. But I didn't. I think at this point I was expecting you know, there'd been a fire. I might have expected that there'd been a fire. Whatever I was expecting, I wasn't expecting what he actually said next, okay? I didn't want to hear this story. I can't believe I did hear this story while on a house viewing, okay? I'm going to try this Tatcha Silk powder, which I've never tried, but I received it in PR recently. And because we've got this delightfully clever, where's it gone, brush with the double sides, I want to try out the powder side, even though I would never usually powder my whole face. I want to see how the brush does with powder, having used foundation on the other side. I will say it's not mixing to make a paste, so that's fantastic. Doing a great job. You could definitely use this under the eye as well. I mean, it works. It's amazing. I mean, it certainly works as intended, so that's exciting. I've never seen anything like that. That's amazing. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure he'd say that he warned us, but I don't think he did really warn us, because he, you know, who expects an estate agent to come out with what he's about to come out with? I did not. I'm just going to briefly go back to the eyes and use the N12 with that first creature shade under my lower lash line. And there's definitely still some pink on there. Oh, whoops. Can you tell I'm delaying the story because it's so horrifying? I can't believe I'm going to say it. And I just want to state before I come out with the story, for the record, I don't think this is funny. I don't think the story is funny whatsoever. It's just the circumstances of this happening to me is just typical. If you know me and you've listened to Unhinged stories with Charlotte before, this will only ever happen to me, wouldn't it? I'm going to start using the Leopard palette. And I just want everybody to know this cost me £36. I'm one of those people who has to show off about how much of a bargain they got. £36, okay? I'll tell you how I did it. Cult Beauty, 25% off, boom. Then I had like a voucher that I got for spending over £80 months ago that I had saved for an occasion such as this. I think that was a £10 voucher. And then I had £15 of credit in my account. A joy. I feel very smug about it. I'm going to use the N15 for like most of what I'm going to do in here. I guess bronzer and blush, and then I'll use the N14 for highlight. Back to the story. So the estate agent says, I don't know if you're going to want to know this, but the reason that the kitchen is so much newer and newly installed is that the gentleman who was living here, the previous owner, who was in his 90s, was cooking one day. I don't know, he must have had a really old oven or a stove or something that needed like the gas turning on. He turned on the gas, it didn't light, whatever happened. He came, he opened the door, boom, lit. And he was horrifyingly burnt and he died. So as I said, this story is not funny. I'm not trying to say in any way this is an entertaining story. It's a horrifying story. A horrifying story like out of a horror film that at no point did I think at 10 o'clock on a Friday, whilst viewing a house, was going to be relayed to me with no warning, you know? So he says this and we are just like crestfallen, I guess would be the word. I'm just staring at this man like flabbergasted, okay? Fully gasted of the flabber. I did not know what to say. I couldn't find words. There were no words. No words were coming out. My face, I imagine, looked something like this for a good 30 seconds. And I didn't know what to say. I think he quite quickly probably realised this was an error. When you're trying to show someone around a house that you want them to buy, you probably shouldn't tell them horrifying stories about people who used to live there, like what happened and why the house is on the market when it's that horrifying. I feel as though he probably, just, you know, a lesson for the future, probably you might have needed to relay that the owner had passed away and it was a probate house. I understand that bit. I think you could have just said the owner passed away. You could have even said there'd been a fire to explain the kitchen situation. I don't think it was necessary to relay the exact horrifying ins and outs of exactly what went down there. I think because of the like horrified looks on our faces, he then quite quickly went on to explain, don't worry, he didn't actually die in the house. Okay, I didn't ask, why is this story continuing, you know? He died in hospital some days later from his injuries, was what he went on to say. I'm at this point, I feel traumatized. I feel traumatized. I want to get out of the house. And I realise you're telling me that this, you know, he didn't eventually pass away in the house. But I do feel like if there is such a thing as haunting and ghosts, he's going to come back here, because why wouldn't you? And he is going to be the most terrifying ghost that you could possibly get, because he is furious and he's cross with the kitchen, which I didn't want to say it before, but it feels chilly in there now. So the point of this story is, like I said, it's not that the story itself is not funny whatsoever. It's just ridiculous that this sort of thing happens to me wherever I go. Even when I'm not asking for it. I didn't ask to hear that story while I'm just looking around a house deciding if I want to live there. But this is what goes on. This is what I seem to attract. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, because they say, you know, you get back what you put out into the universe. But I don't know how I'm like putting out horrify me with traumatic stories while I'm just minding my own business house shopping. I don't know how I'm giving off that vibe. But if you do know, I'd love to be given a heads up so that I can stop doing whatever I'm doing that makes people want to tell me these stories. Because actually that house had a lot of potential, a lot going for it, and there's absolutely not a single chance I'm ever going back there ever again. So finally I have one of these MAC bullet transfer proof. I was going to say bulletproof. I don't think a lipstick can do that, but bullet transfer proof lipsticks. This is my favourite shade of the ones they sent me. It's Mullet Over and Over. And these like MAC's answer to like Dior's Rouge Dior Forever formula. And I have actually fully tested this one out, this specific shade and this formula, when I took my son. Our whole family went, but my son is the reason we went to see Steve Backshall's live show, and we went in after school, so it was kind of applied at like 3 o'clock. We went in for dinner and then we went to the show, and I touched it up, not because it necessarily needed it, I just wanted to see how it did touch up, and it lasted so well through dinner, drinks, snacks and sweets in the theatre, and a really long evening, and so comfortable, so nice. It's got a bit, it's very similar to the Dior as far as its lasting and transfer resistance and all of that stuff. I think it dries down much quicker, like it sets much quicker than the Dior. It feels very similar on the lips. Maybe the Dior feels a hair lighter, and it has barely any transfer. I mean, already that's only been on like a second. And I can see the tiniest bit from like the center of my mouth, but really nothing. It doesn't transfer on glasses or cups or anything at all. It's amazing. It slightly wore away in the center of my mouth, slightly. It touched up really nicely. It was a little more drying than like a non-matte lipstick would be, but nowhere near as drying as like a liquid matte. Very smooth, very soft, comfortable on the lips, doesn't feel like nothing, but such an excellent formula. Okay, so I'm really sad that I forgot to use one of the brushes in this Nikki LaRose collab with BK Beauty, because they are excellent brushes and I absolutely was easily able to do a full face with them. I do think as far as the eyeshadow brushes that there's not really a sort of lid packing shade for like the shimmer in there, but obviously you can use a finger for that, so I didn't really like miss it or feel like, oh, I really needed that. You know, if you're going to make a sort of a 7 brush set, that is one that you can leave out to keep numbers and prices down, and you can use a finger absolutely like I did. Everything else is in there. You know, this brush worked beautifully, especially with the Leopard palette, because the pans are small to get bronzer, blush. I could have used it for highlight, but this one did a fantastic job, the smaller powder brush of doing my powder highlight. You could also use this on the eyes as a really nice diffused, you know, matte single shadow one and done situation. The blending brush is perfect. I used that with pretty much all of the eyeshadows that I used. The only one I forgot to use, which I'm really annoyed about, but I will make sure I use it before my November roundup, was the N16, because I'm really excited to use that one for my concealer. I'm so silly and annoying. I'm gonna have a serious word with myself after this. But such a great little set, made everything really easy to apply. I think the foundation and powder brush is so clever. I can see me having slight issues with it. One, because I wash my powder brushes way less often than I wash my foundation brushes, but it's not a bad thing that it's going to encourage me to wash my powder brush more frequently, is it? That can't be a bad thing. But excellent quality. I love the handles, very comprehensive. You can easily do a full face, eyes, everything just with these and not need anything else. So of the new products I tried today, I'm really wowed by this mascara, this Estee Lauder, what's she called, the Turbo Lash Mascara. I did not expect it. I really like the wand. It's nice and skinny, but it's given me some really dramatic lashes, and I really did not see this coming. So I'm going to keep on using this. The tube is questionable for sure, but okay. Estee Lauder, I didn't know you were so cheeky. The silk powder, I thought I was going to really dislike. I just haven't really heard anything great about it. I haven't really heard anyone loving it, but I think it looks really natural. My skin doesn't look powdery at all today. I think it looks really pretty and soft, and it set my foundation really nicely. So I'm going to keep trying that one as well. I'm not really a powder girl, you guys know, but I did want to try it out, and I'm going to keep trying it because I didn't have any issues. I quite like it. I'm so excited that I pulled off a look that I really love, and this isn't even a look that I'm like, I'll wear it today and I won't hate it. I really like it. I think it's so pretty. So pretty, and I'm definitely going to use this more and try out some of the other shades. It wasn't as scary as I thought. Really pretty, and I'm going to keep trying that. So thank you so much. The packaging of this is insane. I absolutely love that. This leopard palette, I'm so glad I picked it up, especially at like a third of the price. It's so pretty. I was going to order this from Hourglass's website so I could get the owl packaging, but I'm not going to pay double for the owl. You know, I got this as such a good deal at Cult Beauty. I didn't really care about the packaging. This has definitely got the potential to become my favorite ever, as I suspected. Just the shades are all right up my street, work perfectly on my skin tone. I think the highlighter, even though I used the brush from the Nikki Rose collection, there is one that sort of lays down quite a lot of product as opposed to like the fan brushes I would usually use, which give a very diffused highlighter. It still wasn't like too much for me. So I think this could definitely like claim top spot from the Hourglass palettes, like these holiday palettes that I own. So watch this space. I will update you in my November roundup. And then these MAC lipsticks, they are great. Perfectly transfer proof. Absolutely. Very long wearing. Really, really beautiful, smooth, comfortable to wear. If you already have the Dior ones, I think they might slightly edge it. I think one, just for the colour offering. Two, I think they are slightly more comfortable on the lips. They have a slight bit more give to them, I think. So they are slightly more comfortable and slightly less drying, I think. And there also isn't as huge of a price difference as you might expect between MAC and Dior when it comes to this specific lip product. But they are excellent, and they do exactly what they claim to do, which is transfer proof, very, very long wearing, comfortable and non-drying as really a matte lipstick gets. So I hope you aren't too traumatized by this horrifying story that I decided randomly to share with you today, because yes, it was horrifying and I was horrified. And I think it should be a lesson to us all that when someone says you might not want to know this, they really mean that sometimes. They really mean it. They're not going to just tell you some juicy gossip. Sometimes it's really going to be something that you don't want to know. So proceed with caution. And estate agents, if you're watching, don't tell people really horrifying, gory stories about something that's happened in a house that you want to sell them, because it won't help you, I promise. So there you have it, another unhinged story and some new makeup with Charlotte. A very successful day all around. I hope you enjoyed this video, kind of, and found it somewhat helpful. Well, I'd love to see you in the next one. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye 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 bye.